guys. Like and subscribe. Missing you. Wish you were here with us. Some of my sweet friends in YouTube were like, what church that's culty, Dana, does Danny Bucco and Nia Sanchez belong to? Well, there's tons of content about this in the Patreon, also receipts that are long gone now. If you want to have some fun with this topic, just search Teddy Mellencamp Mosaic Church. You can also search Danny Bucco. It'll come up too. Anyway, here's a little example of how this modern Christian church that's non-denominational, not very inclusive to LGBTQ either. But anyway, that's a sidebar. This is what some people have said about Mosaic Church. Any former members of Mosaic Church, formerly the Rock Community Church, ? Couple friends of mine were wanting to start a survivor group for those that managed to escape the cult of Mosaic Church. If there's any former members that would be interested in joining or making a subreddit, PM me. Okay, this is a taste. Oh, it goes so much deeper. And that fancy new church they bought, oh, there's a whole scandal around that too. All right, but that's for the Patreon. Get in there, pay $6 a month and get all the tea. And I do like a million shows. And don't you want to help me survive with my son? I could take the pity angle. So finally, we're doing season 2, episode 12 of The Valley. Mostly gossip. I did 2 parts to episode 12 of Gossip this week. If you didn't see the one that I dropped 2 days ago, like usual, go watch it. It's all gossip because I couldn't do the recap on time, sadly. And then you can watch this one as like a supplement to that one. It's all different stuff. So, I like to deliver. Unfortunately, it takes me 24 hours to be able to watch the show here in Italy. Interesting to me on episode 12 that the only couple showing cracks is Jason Caperna and his wife, Janet Caperna. That's unusual. But I suppose she was very hungry, as she said like 10 times, and getting hangry. So on tonight's show, there was a lot of theme of Brittany Cartwright feeling like she wasn't included in planning this big moment for Kristen Doty and Luke, and she didn't understand why, because she's one of Kristen's best friends. At least that's the way she sees it. Well, it turns out that Luke didn't feel comfortable telling Brittany Cartwright about his plans to get engaged with Kristen Doty that we see play out in season 2, episode 12, because he didn't trust that Brittany Cartwright wouldn't tell Jax Taylor. He felt like she still was like in a weak place with Jax, and it could go either way at that time, even though it had gotten really toxic, and that she might break down and say something to Jax, and he didn't want Jax to know or be involved. So he specifically didn't tell Brittany Cartwright for that reason, and Brittany said that she wouldn't have broke on that, but she understood him being conscious of not, alerting Jax. Who knows, maybe he would have flown out for it and tried to crash it. So then Kristen Doty took to Us Weekly to talk about a little bit her post-tonight episode. She had her baby. The baby's healthy and beautiful. She said she was insecure about Luke because he was 8 years younger than her. And she was like, I really want to have a baby with him, but if I can't, Luke could go with a younger girl and have it, I would understand. Luke stuck with it. They had a loss, of course, once, and then she went through the whole process and finally got pregnant. I guess they got pregnant 2 days after the show wrapped. So that was something she said. She said she's never hiding a reality TV background from her baby. She doesn't think her baby will ever want to do reality TV, but if she does, she'll think about that then. And she does want to try for a second baby. And as you guys know, on previous gossip dumps, I told you that they've decided to wait a few years before actually getting married. When asked if she was going to live in Los Angeles and raise the baby there, she said the following: once she's a school age, we want to be elsewhere. We'd both like to be closer to home, the Midwest. Nashville is the idea in our head, but we'll see. So tonight's show, quite simply, was just Luke trying to ask Kristen Doty to marry him. And we see this very strange whole thing that happens the night before. The producers didn't show a lot of it. I really felt like something went down with production that upset Luke. And I don't know quite what it was, but I sensed it. You know, they didn't cover something he wanted, or he thought maybe they were going to cover something in a negative light. I'm not sure. But him acting erratic wasn't just for this engagement moment. I just know it. And some of the things that we see glimpses of him saying to Kristen, why aren't you supporting me? And he's acting kind of jerky, and he's removed, and he seems like he's worried about his grandmother who's passing. And I'm sure some of that for sure was the nervousness of this going down properly. But there's a part of me that thinks something with production bothered him. I'm just going to say that. So the gangs all has very different roles. And this was a really good example for you guys to see how the producers play mind games with everybody. Let me give you some examples from tonight's show. So in one space, we've got Brittany Cartwright, who knows nothing about this engagement, although she's Kristen Doty's friend. So that was designed by the producers to make Brittany Cartwright have like a moment of like insecurity or sadness because Kristen didn't ask her to do it. And that plays a little bit of a game with Brittany, but she's an old pro and she's also obviously very upbeat and like positive. So she didn't let it get to her like it could have. So it was one game the producers played. Another game the producers played is they didn't tell Janet and Jason Caperna that this trip was ultimately going to end up Kristen Doty's engagement. Now, they could have done that to protect Luke and Kristen because, you know, maybe Janet would have said something. But I think it's more likely that they wanted Janet to go hard for Kristen on this trip and then be embarrassed or feel like shit that she did when she finds out the real reason everybody's, you know, being paid to go on this group trip that production's actually really organizing and paying for mainly, right? So that's going to make Janet and Jason feel like they were definitely set up by production to be like the villain coming in hard for Kristen, who's trying to get pregnant and now also is, you know, kind of like this is her big moment, and here she is like dragging her on her engagement trip. It's just not like how you want to be portrayed to millions of people. And you can see that this had an emotional impact on Janet Caperna today, actually, because she took her account private after receiving death threats and racial slurs. I guess the fans got really aggressive about how she treated Kristen Doty, and it got agitated by this happy episode dedicated to Kristen Doty. Okay, so she had to take her public business platform down, and she has a podcast and everything, so it's a big deal. At least she appears to feel that way. Here's the top part of Janet's account just now. There's the bottom. This account is private. But such is the nature of the beast, and I'm sure Janet is aware of it. She's just struggling to cope at the moment. Maybe it came in hot and heavy. I'd say a lot of the cast members that were not, you know, integrated mainly in this episode tonight felt bad about themselves a little bit. Just the nature of the beast, and they would be probably concerned about next season. Just naturally. But you could tell everybody rallied for Kristen's sake and did their best. Jax was playing with his kid and even said on the phone to Jesse Lally, I need to be there to shake shit up, because he's concerned also that the show could go on without him. And he doesn't want that, so he had to remind everybody. The fact the editors kept that in is really a reminder to the audience, not so much a reminder to Jesse. Now, why wouldn't Brittany Cartwright be worried? Because she's having trouble with Jax, and we know Jax is pretty indispensable, even though everybody tries to vote him off and all this other crap that's never happening. But what we find is that Brittany's not worried because she created so much drama with Jax the whole beginning of the season, so she's taking a deep breath. She's kind of off the hook right now, and she doesn't have to bring the drama. But people who just, you know, didn't have enough of a moment, they're worried. Jesse Lally's starting to make me feel like he's acting. Did you see this scene?
How are you enjoying yourself? Very well.
Meanwhile, they're doing real estate together again. Told you about that last few days ago.
I figured it was probably time that you and I had a little conversation. There are issues that Aaron and I need to discuss. We should have discussed them very early on. We didn't. As a father of Isabella, something that really bothered me, and you wouldn't know this because you're not a father, coming back on Father's Day and having my mother and my friends send me screenshots of you with my daughter on Father's Day. Yeah. That is disrespectful to post a picture of my daughter without even asking her father if that's okay. Right. That was a big slap in the face from Michelle. Completely slipped my mind. We were having such a good day, supporting her. And I put myself in your shoes. And I was like, yeah, that's not right. So I took it down. But, treat us with respect. And let me ask you a question.
Seriously.
Did you or did you not cross the line when I was married to Michelle? Emotional, physical, in any way, did you cross the line?
What's the hesitation in either face? Just say no. No. Don't go slow no.
Absolutely no.
Go fast no.
And we texted here and there. Was once for that coffee meeting at Blackwood, and another time when I told her, hey, come to Runyon, I'm selling honey. But other than that, we would run into each other all the time. I'm thinking, this is bullshit.
So I got cut off there, but Jesse basically says he thinks it's bullshit because they were dating 2 weeks after, he was kind of told by Michelle it's over. And Michelle stayed sleeping in his bed and other things, so Jesse's pissed. And that's his take. But he's still going to be friends with Aaron because he's kind of getting over it. But again, I don't know. There's something fishy about Jesse and Michelle now after finding out they were working together. Let me read you something from his bio on his new real estate bio, because I saw that he adjusted it suddenly. I guess he went to work for a new company. I don't know. It's weird. But I noticed that he's pretty global. He's from Boston, which, of course, my family's from Boston. A lot of hams out of Boston. But he spent a lot of time going to school in London. He's kind of global. It explains why he has this idea of the nicer things in life. He was familiar with New York and Aspen real estate before he joined California. It just shows why he's kind of hoity-toity and over his head in his terms of finances and how he wants to live his life. It's kind of, you can tell now where he gets it from. Jesse's interest in real estate and architecture goes back to his years studying mathematical sciences at Norwich University, where he spent his nights learning design in the architecture lab. Aspired to be a leading real estate professional, Jesse studied real estate economics of the London School of Economics. It's like a big London private school. So, it's kind of what I was talking about. After completing his degree at University of Massachusetts. Oh, UMass. My dad went there. He was president of UMass. Jesse has an unrivaled understanding of the inventory, a clinical precision in Los Angeles market analysis. Oh my God, my son is losing his shit playing his video game. And a vast network of bi-coastal buyers and sellers. The rest is blah, blah, but you get the drift. There's the inside of that building I showed you in the beginning of this video. It's the Pantheon, and there's an exhibit that they're showing on the floor. That's actually covering a drain system because there's a giant hole in the ceiling. There's the hole in the ceiling. It was designed to make the emperor look like a god when he walked in because the light shifted for the entrance, just like reality TV. Emperors knew what they were doing. To create drama in the Colosseum and in places like this. It's so funny. There's so many parallels. Anyway, if you go on the Pentecost, which happens once a year, to the Pantheon, they drop a bunch of petals from flowers through that hole, and it showers down on the people like a miracle. Just a little tidbit for you. Okay, bye, you guys.